Hello and welcome to Crypto News. Today is December 30th, 2025, and here are the top crypto news stories. Today we'll start with China, which is pushing its own CBDC. Specifically, the People's Bank of China has unveiled a new framework for the digital yuan, which will allow commercial banks to pay tokens to their other e-wallets with China's CBDC starting January 1st, 2026. So as I said, China is pushing its CBDC as hard as it can. Now for our ETPs, let me tell you that last week they lost $446 million. Of that, $443 million came from Bitcoin, $59 million from Ethereum, while XRP had an inflow of $70 million. A good number compared to losing money. From our ETPs, let's move on to BlackRock's tokenized money fund, which has given out $100 million in dividends. This is proof that tokenization works, and BlackRock's tokenized money fund is also performing at its best with all the money it has given out in dividends alone. In typical news we've been waiting for, we'll look at Strategy, which bought $109 million in Bitcoin, acquiring 1,229 Bitcoin, and now owns 672,497 Bitcoin. Bitmine bought 44,463 Ethereum, and has now surpassed 3.4% of the total supply of Ethereum, and has put some of it up for staking, as we know from previous episodes. Meanwhile, in new news about Trust Wallet, which as we know from previous episodes, has been hacked, essentially through a faulty version of the software it released to its users. Let's say the number of legitimate wallets that have been hacked has reached 2,596. However, it has received almost 5,000 requests for hacked wallets, so Trust Wallet is currently trying to sort out who has actually been hacked from those who are lying to get pocket change. And for our last story of the day, we'll look at Flow, which is still down 40%. Let me tell you that Flow was actually hacked, and the Flow Foundation stated that it would restore the chain without compensating users, and that any transactions that had been made after the hack would simply be cancelled. But fortunately for all those users, the Flow community is not in agreement with this plan at all. Specifically, Debridge founder Alex and many members of the Flow community urged the founders of the Flow blockchain to stop processing exchanges until the Flow Foundation comes up with a remediation plan for affected users. Debridge in particular is the main bridge provider for Flow, so it carries a lot of weight, as you can see. And the good news is that the Flow Foundation has listened to the community and the very strong pressure. Flow has published a technical implementation plan, saying that it has already temporarily restricted accounts affected by the exploit, and the Ethereum virtual machine (EVM) functions are read only as part of the first phase of recovery. In other words, there will be no chain reorganization, Flow said. All legitimate transactions that occurred before the outage remain valid and will not require resubmission or reconciliation. So finally, it looks like Flow is on a serious and correct path. And for the last news of the day, we'll go to our favorite cryptocurrency market, with the price hovering around $87,000 with low volatility, as we expect. Yesterday's move, of course, collapsed abruptly, because news like this that I told you yesterday is short term, not something that affects us in the long term. That wraps up the top news for crypto today, December 30th, 2025. I'd like to remind you that the content you just watched is created for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice, but rather as investment opinion. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and feel free to comment. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.